Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and we are back with a board game upgrades and deluxifications video, which is a series that used to be a monthly series on the channel before I stopped doing it every single month and started doing it whenever I had a bunch of things to show you. And I bet you'll never guess, but I have a bunch of things to show you. That's primarily because my printer, my 3D printer, not regular printer's just kind of sitting over there. It prints paper, not nearly as interesting for this video. But my 3D printer, a long time ago, when I got cats, they kind of went into a closet for like a year, and I only just recently took it out and started printing inserts again. And so I have a bunch of 3D printed insert stuff to show you, which we'll get to shortly. Also, if I remember, I'll throw a link down below. I either will throw a regular link or refer a link to my bamboo printer, so you can check that out if you're interested. In fact, I'll have links to both the printer as well as Adrena Creative, who has the other things I'll be showcasing over here, and then of course a link to AllPlay, because AllPlay is a channel sponsor. If you go to allplay.com, if you want board game upgrades, I highly recommend their playmats and their board game bags, both of which I use on a regular basis. I probably use the playmats more often, but I think I appreciate the board game bags more often, so do what you want with that information, but you can go to allplay.com and check that out. But with that, let's start off, you know what, let's start off with Blood Rage, because this one actually has a small problem to it. Not that it's Adrena's Creative fault in any way. I'll show you. Basically, I'll throw a link down below to Adrena's Creative Etsy shop. But Blood Rage over here, this is Blood Rage, a well-worn box. It really is well-worn. If you look at these corners over here, this box has seen a lot of love and, you know, wear over the years. But we do have my printer, my folder space insert printer over here, a bunch of painted miniatures, because I started this, but I never finished the job. Half of my factions in Blood Rage are unpainted. I probably should finish the job at some point, but also I need to figure out where all my time goes, and painting is not currently one of those things. But we do have the gods. The gods over here, here's going to be your gods, and what we have for Adrena Creative is we got these banners. These little, not banners, these pedestals. So you can put, if you're playing with the gods modules in Blood Rage, you can put these gods on the pedestals. If you have the gold gods, it looks even better. I'll go ahead and show you briefly kind of what it would look like. I'm not going to fully unfold the map, but there you go. You have your god on the board over here, and then you even have some fun little card display to go ahead and showcase the gods in the game. Basically, when you're playing with the gods of Asgard, you always play with two gods. It's going to have abilities, and the gods are going to be jumping around the map as you resolve various factions, various areas, and these are going to be the pedestals to make them more prominent. Again, the gold gods helps, but a pedestal gold god is even better, and then a nice little display for the cards so everyone can see. Although, of course, depends on your table setup, how you orient that. But that's the first thing over here. What's the problem with it, Alex, you say? Well, the problem with it is this insert. This folded space insert does not really have room for those pedestals, which is a small problem. But I do hopefully have Blood Rage Asgard, Blood Rage Valhalla. That's the one, I think, Valhalla. The new one. I have that one coming soon. And that might mean there's space in that box to go ahead and throw these. So hopefully they will end up somewhere. In the meantime, they're kind of on the shelf next to Blood Rage, which is not my ideal long-term solution. Honestly, I should do a full video of board gamer first world problems, because one of them is like when you have to choose between an insert and sleeve cards. When you deluxify your game and it no longer fits in your custom inserts. There's a bunch of fun little first world problems you can throw together, and that's definitely one of them. From there, let's go ahead and show you our Ghost Galore insert. I still have not put up my review or gameplay for this. I really should. Again, the problem is I started designing a solo mode and got halfway through. I finished the solo mode, but I didn't finish the scenarios, so I'm halfway through, and I've been meaning to finish it before I actually put up those videos, because I talk about it in those videos, and I haven't done so yet. So I either need to bite the bullet and just put it live and just put a little tag in my Word.k. I haven't finished this yet, sorry about that, or I need to go ahead and finish it. I will do one of those things. I just don't know which one first. But Ghost Galore. I went ahead and printed a small little insert with this. This one is kind of a basic insert. Basically, when I'm trying to think what I want to do as far as printing things with my bamboo, I have the P1S, by the way, in case it matters. I do love it. This is a not really 3D printer kind of conversation, but I do love the 3D printer, with the caveat that occasionally it does have a break or issue, and depending on how much time I have that day or week, that either means I have it back up and running within, you know, a day or two, or sometimes 3 months can go by before I take the time to fix whatever the small issue was. Now, I've gotten better over time at fixing those issues, and they haven't happened that often. I probably have this printer about 2 years now, something like that. And I probably have like 3 issues, maybe 4 issues. But again, sometimes it's an easy fix, and other times it's like, I'll get to it later, and later is 4 months later. So that can happen, just in general. But it is the best printer I've had in overall simplicity and ease of use, but not a perfect system that inherently has no work. 3D printers are work in my opinion. Although I will say I have friends who have the Bamboo who have not had any issues. So maybe it's just me. I don't know. Anyways, I look around my shelves and I try to figure out which game do I think is going to stick around for a bit, either because it already has or I'm just that confident, and which game doesn't have an insert yet that can benefit from an insert. And so that's how all of these got, well, not this one, all of these, although I do want to look up for an insert for this one, that's how these all got their insert. You go online, because I have a Bamboo, I start with Maker World, which is the site that hosts a bunch of files. I look around there, then I do a general search for like STLs for various inserts, and then I find the one that most suits my particular goals. In this case, we have Ghost Galore. This is a fairly simple insert. It's just a small little piece over here. I printed like maybe an hour because over here, these aren't even in an insert. This just kind of keeps your tiles. These are all the tiles, by the way. All the tiles fit into the sideboard, which is amazing. And the rest over here, you have these, you have like the various tokens, you have the tiles that lay on top. Honestly, this insert, if nothing else, kind of showed me how little space you actually need for Ghost Galore. It's a very simple, straightforward insert. Again, these kind of rest beautifully on that lip, the way it's structured, and then these tiles are on the edge. And personally, the way I play this game is when I'm playing it, I take all the tiles and I dump them into the lid of the box where people can root around and grab the various tiles they need as they are playing the game. Very simple, very straightforward, pretty basic. I'll try to include links to the various STL files I used for each of these. Again, I'll have links to Adrena, links to AllPlay, links to my Bamboo, and links to the various STL files that I used in each of these things, if I find them. I'm pretty sure I have them all. From there, let's go ahead and take a look at, let's do Druids of Edora. We'll do another insert, then we'll do Adrena over here, and then we will do my favorite insert, which is Revive. Druids of Edora, a game, and by the way, I have realized that I have both, Recall. I have both Recall and Druids of Edora that are both 5 out of 5 games for me this year that I've said in multiple videos. And I still haven't put up the actual reviews for them, so I continue to talk about how much I love them without giving you an actual review, which is fine for those of you who just want to know what I think about it, but also those who will see a dedicated review, or those who want to know why I think it's a 5 out of 5. Those videos will come at some point, hopefully before the end of the year. But over here, I printed this specifically. Usually so again, fun fact as far as how I operate, when you're buying various spools of filament for your printer, you can buy a lot of different ways. One of the ways you often can do is you can usually buy like a 10-pack on sale from either King Rune, Sunlu, any of the various brands that are well reputable, and you can find a 10-pack of a basic color and then just get a slight discount by doing that. So you get a little cheaper. Because of that, I often print my basic inserts in black, as you may have seen with Ghost Galore. Although in hindsight, I kind of wish I had done orange. I have orange. I think it would have gone nicely. It was so little that I may even, I know people who have Ghost Galore. I may go ahead and give them a free insert and reprint it in orange. I think that would be nice for the Halloween vibes. But anyways, aside from the fact that I usually print them in black, I like it when I can get a nice color match to this. And I really enjoyed this color palette for Druids of Edora. It's not the exact shade of the box, but I actually like it. It provides a nice little, like, you know, kind of offset to the color palette there, which I really enjoy. Anyways, that said, we're going to go ahead and pull these out and show you how this insert works, because we have these tiles. Well, actually, let me go ahead and pull this out here, pull these out here. Basically, you have your individual component trays holding a variety of components. This particular person also had 3D components you could print that I just didn't think were cool enough. I'm not always a fan of 3D printed components. I love the inserts. Components are case by case. So these boxes are pretty full, pretty empty. There's space for them because you can go ahead and use other elements. He designed them so they can accommodate the 3D printed components he designed as well. And again, it also fills up the box, which is not a bad thing. So we have these. I will say this particular box lid, it kind of is not the, it shakes around a bit. So it's not the tightest as far as the fit on them, but it's not a huge deal. I think I did it correctly. I think they're all the same lid, it's just that they don't fit perfectly on the top, but it's fine. It's fine. It just could be better. Aside from that, we have these over here. So we have our various tokens, the various totems, or whatever you call it, not the Stonehenge type things, our pieces over there. Then we have this piece over here, which this kind of operates as a lip. You'll see in a second. So this one kind of fits in a weird way to make everything, you know, standard. And then we have the component trays, the individual player trays for over there. But again, you see over here, this is a weird setup piece because you're kind of storing both this over here and these. So this has both a small lip and an edge piece, which makes it a very weird component. But if your goal is keeping everything nicely in the box, it does function exactly like you would hope. So it does a great job. It's just weird. You kind of want to pull this out, and it's not really designed to be pulled out in the same way. You could pull it out if you want, but, you know, I wouldn't. Then you have over here the player trays. Player trays hold all the individual player pieces like so, and then it uses this as a cover, which I think is a great idea. So overall, that's going to be, you know, the various player trays. These go in nicely over here. You put them back on top. Just put them there. Then we go ahead ahead and we put back in the side piece over here. And then you have the individual trays. We go 1, 2, and 3, like so. These are going to show up there in that corner, and then these nicely go into the corner, and these come in at a cross piece like that. All of it comes together very nicely. That's the Druids of Edora insert. One of the problems, by the way, with printing inserts, and something that does bother me, like people will talk about like component waste or just general plastic waste as far as the environment and plastic components in board games, and I'm not dismissing that, but I'm usually not bothered by that. What does bother me is thinking of all the inserts you have to throw out in the garbage when an expansion comes along and you have to reprint a 3D insert. Because that could happen. If Druids of Edora comes with an expansion and then someone redesigns an insert to accommodate the expansion, this is now useless. And then it unfortunately goes in the trash, which feels like such a waste. And that concept of printing an insert and throwing it out, I don't love it. Anyway, Pirates of Maracaibo. There's just things to bother you before we continue the video. Pirates of Maracaibo. This actually has two things. So first of all, a fun fact. A long time ago when I did this series on a regular basis, Top Shelf Gamer sponsored the Upgrades of Deluxe series. And while technically, I think we've never actually stopped sponsoring it, I just don't do it monthly anymore. So I still shout them out when I have an opportunity to do so. I may have a link to them down below. Again, I don't know if it'll be a referral link or not. It might be, it might not. But we do have these piratey coins from Top Shelf Gamer that I do love and use in Pirates of Maracaibo. So if you're looking for a nice feel that really upgrades the component quality of the coins, highly recommend these. These add a ton to the general look and feel of the game. There's nothing quite as satisfying as handling a good set of metal coins that nicely matches with the theme of the game you're playing. So highly recommend those. Then from Adrena Creative, we have a bunch of fun things. Let's go ahead and show you some of them because I don't want to take everything out, but I'll take out some stuff. So let's go ahead and pull these out. I have to replace some of these components. I just want to show you them first before I do so. Then let's pull out our pirate ship, and our card pack can go over there. Basically, they have a bunch of components for both the basic game as well as the expansion, and I'll show you the components they're replacing too. So first of all, we have our cannons over here. These are both going to be upgrades for your individual ship, as well as upgrades for the cannons components. I'll try to zoom in a bit. They're upgrades for your cannon components as well, if you have the Commander's expansion. So we have two different types of cannons over here, your basic ones and then your full ones over here, which is not necessarily the easiest to tell apart, but they do the job. And these go into your ship. So now, instead of having a basic gray cube in your ship, you have cannons. So you're slowly slotting your ship with cannon upgrades, which is so much more fun and thematic. I love that. And then you have these, which again, they from the top view, you're not going to see a difference. But from the side view, they are twice the height overall. So again, they are nicely twice the height. I don't know how you can see over there. So that is at least good. But again, that's going to be your first upgrade. So we have both cannons for the Commander's expansion, as well as the base tokens to replace these gray cubes for your base game. That is easily my favorite. That's actually not true. There's two of my favorite components. The other ones, because the other one I'm more mixed on, and I'll explain why. The other one I really enjoy is this over here. These are your fort pieces, and they are going to have your fort tokens placed into them. So when you have a fort, which again is from the Commander's expansion, you can place it into your little fort over here, and then you now have a new way to show those fort tiles, which adds a nice degree of 3D board presence, and they're just really nice components. You do have to shake them out a little bit, which is not always the best, but they come out usually relatively easy enough. So these forts over here, another solid upgrade component. Highly recommend these. Both the cannons and the forts, absolutely top notch. The components that I'm a bit more mixed on, I still use them, but it's the kind that I am open to replacing them if I find better ones, and I might hunt for better ones because I do love Pirates of Maracaibo, so trying to improve the game as much as possible is definitely top of my list, which again, I need a 3D printed insert that fits everything, which the problem is, again, these are first world problems. I'll go find a 3D printed insert. By the way, the cannons are replacing these basic cubes and these basic cubes, which is like such a step up, such a huge step up. Again, the first world problems part is I might find a 3D printed insert online from a file that's really, really good, but it's not necessarily designed to fit the upgraded components, the coins I have, these little bits. So I have to do my research as to, can I fit my unique copy of Pirates of Maracaibo into someone else's insert that they were so kind to create an STL file. First world problems very much. Anyways, moving on. We have these. So these are going to be little elements. You have your round trackers for the game. These operate as round trackers to track which round you are on, 1, 2, or 3. They're nice. They're chunky. They don't have the metal heft. This is where I'm spoiled by metal coins. So they're fine. No problems with them. I do tend to use them just because it's simple to use and adds the visual board presence, but they're kind of take it or leave it. Then you have point trackers over here. Again, decent enough. And then you have these, which go on the residences. So these track individual players putting their tokens in the residence. I do think these are, again, a nice step up from the base game components. We just have a small little circle cardboard token. It's nice to have that visual representation as people put a stack of cannonballs on the residences. So again, these are fine. And then again, the next one is, again, in the fine category. I think I said again like 5 times in a row there. The next one is going to be the upgrades for the various gems, the pearls, the gold, and the, I guess, emeralds. Is that what they are? I assume they're emeralds. Basically, in the base game, you just have a bunch of little cubes over here, which are fine, but they're basic wooden cubes. And then these component upgrades, they replace them with 3D printed versions of those, which are nice. Again, this is my problem where, because I've gotten used to Top Shelf Gamer when they do have upgraded resources, because Top Shelf Gamer, they definitely have gold cubes, gold chunks, which I want to get. The question is, do they have anything for the sapphires or for the pearls? Because that's going to be the question here. Because visually, these are great. They are a solid upgrade to the components you have in the base game. As far as giving you something more than just a abstract cube, you have more tokenized pieces. They are nice. The main issue is that heft aspect. I do find often when playing with 3D printed bits, the heft element isn't there in the same way as when you have fancier bits. They are very affordable relative to other things, so there is pros to that. But that's just the thought process on those. So overall, these are nice component quality upgrades, some that I love and some that I enjoy but might look to replace over time. And that's what we have for Pirates of Maracaibo. Which brings us to the next. And also I have my newest expansion, Bermuda Triangle, which I have not played yet, that I do want to play, but I will get to that later. Which brings us lastly to Recall. Recall over here, I love this insert. It does such a good job. I mean, the Druids of Edora insert was good, but I think this one is even better. Let me just go ahead and show you what this looks like over here. Do I want to zoom out the camera? No, I'll zoom out a drop. So if you zoom out a bit over here, then you can see all the stuff over here. This is 3D printed. You could put the box on the side because everything's so tight. I wouldn't recommend it personally because any lid lift, or at least if you had a box band. If you have a box band, you're fine. If you don't have a box band, any sort of lid drift and things will start falling all over the place. But this over here gives you everything you need. And my favorite bit is the person who designed these inserts. They kind of model it so you can have a top level color palette shift, which is nice, especially if you do have all the colors, which I do. I have purple, red, blue, as far as the filament I'm printing with, which means you have these as your component trays. Like, that's such a nice visual touch. The bulk of it is in blacks for that consistency, but the top just has a little element to tell you that this is, purples, this is blues. I absolutely love that. I'm a huge fan of that little change over there, that little adjustment. And you can print it in basic all one color too, but if you do have the filament ability, it's a very nice touch to be able to do that. Then we have over here your various, the key tiles over here are going to be there. The upgrade tiles, we have our bag. So this has room for your bag of cubes as well as cards. This does fit sleeved cards. I have not sleeved it yet, which is a crime, honestly. Sometimes, even though I love a game, I don't get to sleeving right away. And sometimes, if I don't grab the sleeves in time, months can go by, which has happened over here. We have 2 separate trays over here. I'm just going to pull them out together, but I want you to see that they're separate. And then we have this main tray over here, and that's kind of how everything fits. You have your main boards, your player boards, your time tracker board, and then everything just kind of nicely goes in here on top of all of that. Those are all the elements. Very straightforward to print, beautiful, and I really, again, I said this already, but I love these player boards. I think they are so nice as far as how much. First of all, the setup and teardown is much better with these. Like, playing with these versus tons of bags of components is such a quality of life upgrade. Highly recommend it. And then again, the visual aesthetic of it is absolutely beautiful. So I'll include links to all of this stuff down below. But that is basically my Recall insert. And that's it. That is your 3D upgrades and deluxe creations video. We will be back in some number of months the next time I want to show you a bunch of things, which might be sooner rather than later. I don't know. Now that I'm doing 3D printing again, the speed of various inserts entering the collection might be higher, and I like showing them because I think, especially if you have a 3D printer, it's nice to see, like, oh, I can make my game like that. That's a great quality of life upgrade, again, until the expansion comes along. But overall, those are great. Like, the insert I have for Revive is great. That one actually I got from someone who prints 3D inserts as opposed to printing it myself. But that's another thing. If you do like these, you can often find services or people who can print them for you, even if you don't have a dedicated 3D printer of your own. And that's it. These are the various games. We have Blood Rage, Druids of Edora, Ghost Galore, Pirates of Maracaibo, and Recall. Hope you enjoyed this upgrades and deluxe creations video. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. And as always, I hope you have a good one.